learning things. You can just start again. And you never look back.
Try not to get worried, try not to turn on to problems that upset you. Don't you know?
You're a boundary pusher.
I have no idea what boundaries are.
And we want you to sleep well tonight.
Have you lost count of your sexual partners?
Let the world turn without you tonight.
Oh, wait,
question.
I definitely don't remember
Moving
names.
on.
Everything's all right, yes, everything's fine.
My family lies a lot because everyone's like in everybody's stuff, so you tell a lie and you can have some privacy.
Close your eyes and relax, think of nothing tonight.
I am going to Israel.
I feel like my body's screaming at me. You're in the wrong place.
And relax, think of nothing tonight. Close your eyes, close your
You feel that?
Whoa, hey, what the fuck?
Choose us.
Excuse us. It's like an Orthodox Jewish Disneyland.
They say in Hebrew, you only have one mother.
We kind of have more than one.
I'm here. I'm dating
That's cool. What's her name?
Donald.
Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations on another incredible season of this show. How you are doing this each season is unbelievable, and this season it's just as beautiful. I told you I'm 6 episodes in. I kind of can't wait to go back and finish watching it. I'm curious. You know, you do a season of the show, and it's considered groundbreaking, and it is groundbreaking, and you're aware of that, I think, and you're going for that. How do you settle in to also just sort of consistently telling these stories over the course of a number of seasons?
Well, I don't think we ever really settle in. I think part of who we are as artists is we really like putting ourselves in that place of crossing boundaries and crossing borders. And so when we were looking at season 4 and asking ourselves the question of what will make this season undeniable, what will give us the chance to tell stories we've never told before, we said, you know, let's go to Israel.
Let's actually cross borders.
Yes.
And when you get to Israel, and stop me if I start spoiling anything or get too far. No one has told me what I can and can't say. And you start actually having. Anyway, Gaby. But no, actually, this concerns Gaby's character. You know, you start exploring the actual relationship between Israel and Palestine and how these different characters feel about it. When you do that, Jill, how do you find ways to do that you are still sure are going to be entertaining and you're not just going to be kind of like educating people, which I think is still a good thing when you do it, and I like it.
Yeah, we want the family to have the experience that anybody would have when they're encountering Israel as a tourist, and then suddenly awakening to the potential for wokeness, dare I say. Yeah, it has to be funny. We felt like we did that with trans stuff, where you know, the trans conversation can be a heavy one, it can be a scary one, but by taking stories about real people and landing the stories in their true emotions, and you know, a scene where Allie has to decide if she's going to continue with her family on the trip or if she's going to bust off and explore the West Bank. That has a lot of, you know, it has comedy in it as well as drama. It's coming.
How do you weave in, and I will get to the rest of you momentarily, excuse me.
At some point you will get a chance to talk.
Yes, I will get all the... But I have Jill Soloway here, so give me some time, everybody. How do you weave in wonderfully, I think, in a lot of ways, the history of queer identity? Within the West, for the most part, you're sort of touching on it a little bit in Israel and Palestine when you talk about it. But I think specifically in this season when we have Alexandra Billings telling the story about her past, and you've been able to do that so beautifully in every season, I think, and it's clearly something that is important to you to not just be like, this is this time right now that this is happening, right? How have you done that in the writer's room? When did you realize that was going to be important for the show?
Well, yeah, we consider it like this incredible honor that we get money from Amazon to make this thing called a television show that to us is actually art and a political movement. So I remember, I think it was in season 1, or it was season 2 actually, when my own MAPA sent me an article about Magnus Hirschfeld and said, you know, this was one of the people who pioneered trans medicine. This was happening back in Nazi Germany right before World War II. the Nazis were using Magnus Hirschfeld, the fact that he was Jewish and the fact that he was exploring the idea of non-binary identity as a way to incite rage and hatred. So to be able to know that that was part of our history, to have no idea that even telling that story about how hatred of trans people is used to incite particular nationalistic ideals, and to be confronting that in our world right now with the trans ban, it really feels less like we're doing something intentionally and more like we're the recipients of this legacy of amazing information that can really help us thrive as a society. That's kind of what we're trying to do with this art.
Absolutely. Judith, I'm going to have a light question for you. That wasn't meant as a pun.
Yes, it was.
No, I really wasn't, but then I realized it, and it was like, I should have been smart enough to realize that wasn't.
And now you're embarrassed.
From,
right?
from Nazi Germany
Good,
to
and roundly and soundly chastised.
You start taking improv this season, and it's some unbelievably funny scenes. Can you talk about doing those scenes at the UCB Theater and coming up with Mario?
I can't talk a lot about it because I want everybody to be surprised, just as surprised as I was when I saw where Jill had and the writers had intended to go. And I literally said to her, I don't understand this. But what's so amazing about working on the show and working with Jill and this whole Pfefferman family is that we get to say that. We get to talk about that. And as an artist in this arena, I said, I don't know where this is coming from. And basically, Jill said to me, just go there and we'll take care of you. So there's never a moment where you go, oh no, I can't do this. You go there. And what it is that from season 3, Shelley is exploring her newfound voice, which is what happened really basically at the end of season 3 on the ship. I assume most of you have seen it. Some people have, some people haven't, but there's this moment where Shelley is doing her one-woman show. And so now she's freed herself up in some way to really understand what she lost all of those years by being so closeted about her own abuse and where she wants to go. And that's why the Mario stuff comes out of something else. That's another part of the story that gets revealed. And also, of course, now living with my son, and such a good boy he is.
Can I also point out, isn't it crazy to see Judith not as Shelley? Look how beautiful she is. When you see her as Shelley on the show, you don't realize that is a very hot woman.
He wants to date me, but he's
Season
married,
5.
and so
I called her first, bro.
But you know
I called
what?
her first.
But let me say, just in thank you, sweetie. But and thank you to my honey. But the real truth of it is, who but Jill Soloway would have the vision to see that I could play this part? I mean, this isn't something that you say, first thought, that's her. No, it's not true at all. And so I think that's her vision and the genius of it and where those stories can go, because you're choosing people out of their connection and the family, and that's what she sees and that's what she wants. So I think it's important to point that out, too.
Jill, what did you see in Judith that made you know that she could play Shelley? Outside of she's a phenomenal actress, but I'm curious what...
The inner Jew, you mean? I could see through the light to the inner Jewish lady.
I mean, we had a Skype call. We didn't even meet in person.
Yeah.
We talked for 45 minutes on a Skype call, and we talked about our advocacy for the LGBT community.
Judith Light has worked with the Point Foundation for how many years?
Well
before it's become sort of cultural knowledge of the trans community and trans youth. She has been involved, and Jill has this incredible ability to find people who care about the issues of this show before they get cast, so that it all melds perfectly together, where the purpose and the narrative meet for everyone individually, as actors, and then as a show and as a movement, and it all has been there before. I have to say, though, I definitely thought she was a shiksa, and I had no idea. She's super Jew in real life.
It's the fake blonde.
Yeah.
But that's true about everyone that Jill has picked
except for Rob, who only cares about Baywatch.
It's hard to play a straight white man on the show. Fan favorite.
But you.
That said, I was complimenting backstage a scene where you did a perfect straight white man impression. I mean, it was very easy for you, clearly, where a sexual situation could happen. And the look of like, can I do this? Should I be okay with this? Is this going to go poorly? I very much related to that moment.
Yeah, you guys haven't seen this season yet, but there might be an opportunity for me to be a part of a three-way. And so you'll have to go and watch this. But yeah, so I didn't want to blow
Teaser.
it.
That's not the expression you should be using.
Oh, three-way? Thruple? What is it?
Thruple? Thruple?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant blow it.
I thought you meant
That is what I meant.
Yeah. I blew it.
Where did that face and that reaction come from in that scene? This sort of hesitance,
Yeah, well, in this situation, there's a scene with Amy and I and Alia Shawkat from Search Party.
Search Party and Arrested Development, unbelievable young actress.
And so we have this opportunity to perhaps invite her into our relationship sexually, and
emotionally. There's an emotional connection.
Yeah, but mostly it's sex, and. So yeah, I mean, it's that just felt very real. Like if you're a person that's just about to maybe get that opportunity, you don't want to screw that up. You have to kind of play it cool, and you.
Cool is definitely how you played it.
Yeah,
cool,
super cool,
sure, yeah.
Super cool. You have to act like you don't want it to happen, and then it can happen. Yeah.
Jay, Josh is, we talk about exploration with the show, and I feel like the narrative journey for every character each season is like a new exploration that they're kind of going on. And your character, in my opinion, seems like he always has the hardest time exploring. And I think specifically in this season, he feels very trapped, even though he's doing a couple different things. Where do you think that comes from with this character? Why do you think he's so trapped?
Oh, wow.
That's the writer. So.
Yeah. Well, Jill and I do talk a lot about, I guess, the genesis of Josh being like a guy trapped in a family full of incredibly powerful and strong women, and the one person that he thought was a man turned out not to be a man after all. And so I think really what we work with at the deepest level is Josh feels weirdly alone and betrayed, and inability and lack of a roadmap as to how to be a man. So we explore all the fun and tragic possibilities of how that could unfold.
It always seemed to me that he felt slightly trapped because everybody else felt a little bit more free once they broke away certain barriers that sort of straight white men have sort of built up for themselves, and he still doesn't know how to kind of break those away in any possibility. So he still feels really kind of confined compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we explore this year that's interesting is the fact that, what seemed to be the biggest monkey on Josh's back was the ongoing relationship with his babysitter, who really had a great power over Josh, and whether or not that was considered molestation or not. And in season 3, she dies, and what Jill so brilliantly brings through in season 4 is the continuing relationship. I don't want to name it too much because she does it in such a natural way that you don't really even question, but Josh has a continuing relationship with this woman who is now deceased. And it's just a beautiful thing. I mean, I think it relates to some of the bigger themes in the show of epigenetics and how we inherit evolution, and how it doesn't end when someone dies, especially if you have not cleaned it up, if you have not gotten closure. So, besides moving back in with his mother and having that relationship, Josh still continues to have a relationship with this woman that he doesn't have closure with. And it's just, I'm getting chills thinking about it right now. That kind of storytelling is like, the chance to be a part of that is amazing.
And you really see it in his relationship with his mother in the way that he even isn't even comfortable with her finding any kind of happiness or openness in her life. Even that kind of rubs him the wrong way.
Yeah, I think like a lot of reasons why Josh might be letting his mom live with him is like he sees her as maybe he hopes that she's the most hopeless Pfefferman and not himself. And if he can like help her, maybe there's hope for himself, but he doesn't want her to get too far ahead of him. I mean, I think that's like really deep stuff that operates in all families and in all relationships. It's something that for some reason, the way that Jill has built this world, we can explore those things and laugh our asses off while it's happening. I still don't fully understand how this works.
It's kind of incredible because what Jay is talking about is at an energetic level. And people say, why are people so obsessed with Transparent and watching it and can't wait for the new season to come out? And it's because at an energetic level, at a human level, we all understand these iconic characters. They are very specific in the show, but they are very much a family person that we know, that at some very deep Jungian level, we understand and know these people and we relate to them. The content of the stories is altogether different than anybody else's life, but the specifics of the humanity is what I think takes it up to a whole other connected level.
Gaby, talk about Allie's relation, or where Allie is in this season and what she's exploring. From where I got, I mean, this interview is literally based off of the 6 episodes that I've seen this season, so I can't go further than that. But she seems to be exploring her Jewish identity and that in relationship to Palestine. I mean, she's sort of taking in information a little bit differently than it feels like other people in scenes are.
Well, I'm looking at the poster over there, and I'm seeing, first of all, the butterflies, right? So we're all looking for that beautiful transformation. But then I'm also noticing that I have 2 dots on either side of my eye. So I'm four-eyed at the moment. But I think Allie is looking for that 3rd eye. And she doesn't know how to be where she is when we start the season. I was rewatching it and I was like, oh God, I can't believe I didn't put this together before. She's living in the basement of her childhood home with a German family above her, stomping around and screaming, and a weird white dude telling her he wants to walk around naked if he wants to. Like, it's intense.
He's like trying to hide her too. He's like, no, you're in there. I don't want to see you. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So she, obviously Allie, I think in a more obvious way than her siblings, has been like actively searching. Who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I want to do? And she's gotten to a place where I feel like at the start of the season, she doesn't really, they're all haunted by the past. I mean, Rita is a beautiful example of that in the way Jay was just talking about. And the relationship that we have to each other is so defining for each of us. But I feel like Allie doesn't know. She's got her relationship to her family in the present, her relationship to the past, her relationship to where she lives now in America with a Trump presidency, which isn't named but is felt. And she doesn't know who she is in relationship to all that stuff. So she has to get far away from it and start asking questions and start looking at the world in ways that she never even realized she had to. So whatever her thoughts about Israel-Palestine were before going on this trip, she now is looking for that 3rd eye perspective. And she knows that that means asking questions and opening her eyes to things that she had never considered before. So, yeah.
Jill, I'm curious, Gaby just said a Trump presidency, which isn't named. A show that I believe you won Emmys for, 6 Feet Under. A show that you wrote on was during the Bush presidency. It was during the Bush years, which I was fairly young when those, but I remember them being horrible. Just absolutely horrible and autocratic and despicable and sad. Does this feel a lot different for you as a creator right now? Does it feel different creating in the Trump era than it did in the Bush era?
Yeah, I mean, it feels very urgent. And I think the biggest surprise for me about the Trump presidency was the assumption that we were on over the past 8 years, which was as we were moving forward, things were going to become more tolerant. There was an idea that forward meant modernity, meant tolerance. So we were all like on those people movers at the airport going in one direction thinking, okay, now we're going to have an African-American president, then we're going to have a female president. Things are going to get better because they're moving forward, because they're becoming more tolerant. To have that sort of people mover picked up and whipped around, and now we're all in the air going, okay, we're forward in time, but we have a president calling for a ban on trans people in the military, so we're going backwards. I mean, I think we really thought when we were making Transparent that we were changing the world, hearing Obama say the word transgender before any, as one of the first, as the first president who ever said the word transgender during a press conference. We just assumed that the world is getting more tolerant and we're part of that. And to see that the world is getting more tolerant and we're part of that, but there is a backlash also, an opposite reaction to that tolerance that involves a kind of closing down. It just feels absolutely more urgent than ever to keep making art, not only for ourselves, but also to empower women, people of color, queer people, all people who get otherized by this administration and this patriarchal white way of centering whiteness and centering patriarchy. Everybody's fighting against it. So not only are we making our thing, but we're also doing the work. I know Jay is as a producer. We're all doing the work to bring more people of color, women, and queer people into the industry to be able to tell our own stories, to create propaganda that we can spread with the entire world about our humanity.
Absolutely. And just to say, I do feel like it is urgent in the Trump administration right now, and autocratic and terrible as well. Maybe worse than Bush. I didn't want to say that was bad and worse. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, it's all bad.
Amy, talk about Sarah in this season. She is a sexual free being.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's a heavy season thematically, and most of the cast and writers and crew were going through a very intense process this year, and I was like, me and Rob are stoned and having sex all year. we had Sarah.
Tough job.
Sarah's having a very, and even watching what I've seen, I'm only in 6'2", just watching the sort of lightness that I think Sarah's in total denial about the election, and she's just kind of like gone into pleasure zone. And I can relate, to just kind of wanting to, I'm actually probably way more conscious, but I feel like she's just trying, I really think what she's trying to do this year, and the way I interpreted it was, and as someone who's been in a traditional relationship, how to create a relationship that works, that combines your desire for real intimacy and your desire for excitement and thrill. And how do this show's always dealt with sexuality and desire and female desire, and I think Sarah's always kind of embodied, and people have a hard time with that. It's tricky. People always react to me like, you're crazy. I actually don't think she's passionate and she's curious, and
I think she's honest too, for the most part. She's
trying to be. She actually taught, one of my favorite lines this year is about lying and how lying is a form of boundaries in a family. She said, we lie a lot because it gives us privacy. And so I think she wants to be honest. I think that's my favorite. I had so much fun with Rob. I'm so blessed to have him.
Super blessed.
No, but these are tricky storylines, and you have to get really close to people. And when you can feel really safe and free and respected and all the things that you want to do when you're going to be your most vulnerable, this is it. To have a partner like him and Alia, who we got real close, and I think we all had so much fun. But basically, I just think Sarah is saying, look, I want women, I want men, I want excitement, I want intimacy, I want to be a mom, I want to work, I want it all, and how can I possibly do it, So that's the attempt, I think, here.
I love it. I love that storyline. Before I move to audience questions, Jill, I have to ask. I think it was last year SNL did a kind of a parody of Transparent.
Yeah.
I was wondering what you thought of it. I thought it was very funny, and I love the show too.
Yeah. No, we loved it. We were so excited. A family of adjunct professors all gets diagnosed with depression on the same day.
Win best comedy at the Emmys.
Best comedy. And then my favorite part is two people are having sex, and then they stop and they look at each other and they go, "What are you thinking about?" And the other one goes, "The ancestors."
Let's get some questions from the audience.
Hi. You all shoot very intense scenes, both sexually and emotionally. So I just want to know how you guys prepare or get into the right headspace right before you're going to shoot a scene like that.
We completely lose our minds for 3 straight months.
We panic.
And then apologize to our spouses for the following 6 months.
We hug each other.
We have secret meetings in our trailers and counsel each other.
Amy, your tits look great. Your tits look great. Go, 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 go. Something like that.
It's true. And then the beast, or what is Jeffrey called Judith? The killer? Because she killed the killer.
Yeah.
This woman shows up and she's like, hey, everybody, I'm charming and beautiful and lovely, and I'm going to take care of you and deal with you. And then I'm going to weep on cue at any time, maybe 50 times in a row, and give you the most incredible moving scene you've ever seen. And then I'm going to make a joke afterwards. And I mean, it's like, I don't know how, she doesn't prepare. She's just like is an open, I don't know, emotion, wound, but you're not wounded. I mean, you're so incredibly healthy in a weird way because it just goes in and out, you know?
Yeah.
The truth is,
You know, I mean, we're talking about, I mean, you can feel what's happening here. I mean,
You guys were huddled in the back, like, before you went on. I was like, hey, come on.
We love each other. We're excited to see each
we
other.
cannot, it's like, we can't get enough of each other. We haven't seen each other for a while. So there's that kind of closeness and connectedness.
It's a cult.
That we,
We're a cult.
That we,
We've
that's
started a
another
cult.
word for it. That we have with and for each other. And it's like, when I'm doing something, it's not a question of preparation. The preparation has been written and built in over the years. So it's all in there. It's for all of us, I think it's at a cell level memory, right?
well,
She's laughing, but it's
no,
really...
it's the truth is that we function and act like a family during our shooting season. And if we saw each other the rest of the year, it would be true the rest of the year. So we're in it.
Yeah.
Already all the time when we're shooting. So you don't need to prepare because you're already there, you know? And it's beautiful and fun and funny and great. And sometimes really emotionally exhausting and hard because you're like with your crazy family every day that you love.
Right. And you look around and it's like Jeffrey says, everywhere you look on the set, there is genius. And so everybody's there for you and present for you. So that makes a huge difference. And it's not ever thus. I mean, I'm old. I've been around a long time. I can tell you it isn't always like this.
Can I just say what I was cracking up about, what I was
Yes,
thinking about?
sweetheart.
There's this moment in the Dead Sea where everybody's talking about whether or not Allie has her own gender issues and whether or not Allie might have inherited a little something gender-wise from Maura. And so people are talking about whether gender issues run in the family, and Judith and Shelley goes, if it runs in the family, then maybe I'm trans. And...
Someone goes, you're not actually related.
You're not actually a blood relative of the trans line in the family.
But the conception of that line, that Shelley would assume that if it runs in the family, then she's probably trans too. If Maura and Allie are both trans. Like, that line was written, but when the line was delivered by Judith Light, who absolutely understood exactly why Shelley would assume this meant she's probably trans too.
But
that's the silliness.
That's the silliness. And of course, I mean, that's the joy of it too.
Yeah.
That's right.
Maybe I'm trans, just because it runs in the family. My partner is trans.
No, Ma.
They were all shooting this scene in the Dead Sea that my character is not in, but I literally just like jumped in the water with them, and Jill would be like, "We're rolling, paddle away!" Like
You did. You had to swim away between
there,
takes,
not
and you
being
would come
there.
back.
Let's get another question from the audience.
Hi, guys. It's infectious, the energy between you guys. It's amazing. I forgot my question, but it's amazing because you guys capture so much humanity, and you guys, there's so much humanity. Just when I'm about to cry and I'm watching it, you guys crack me up with the beauty of your connections. It's amazing. My question was, how do you let that go as actors and directors and being on set? The Hollywood being beautiful, making it look great, and just letting that go and really letting the humanity be.
Wait, we don't look great?
That's. I mean, you look phenomenal.
Hold on.
You know what I'm saying.
No, Gaby, the second season I was naked and people. No, I was only fully naked in the microwave scene.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were telling me how brave I was in the press junket that year, and it really hurt my feelings. Like I was like, I don't think they tell like Charlize Theron that she's fucking brave. You know what I mean? Like, and Gaby's like, no, Amy, that's just like code for like we're not used to seeing women without makeup and like, you know, their tits propped up. In fact, the makeup artist had said to me, maybe you want to stand up straight. And I mean, Molly, because I said, will you tell me if I look terrible? She's like, well, maybe you just stand up straight. And I'm like, but she's depressed. I can't stand up. I'm not going to stand in my kitchen when she's alone and sad. So then I see my boobs like touch my stomach and I want to cry. Trust me, it's not easy or fun. But you want people to feel something. And I know, my ex-husband used to always say Edie Falco to me when I would think about doing something to my face. He would go, Edie Falco. That was a mantra in our house. Because to remember the actors who I love and who make me feel something. And I actually have a real theory that when people's faces don't move, you can't feel what they're feeling. I thought of all, and of course I have Gaby Hoffmann, there's just, I hate to, I mean, there's just, well, obviously everyone knows how amazing Judith is, and everyone knows how amazing Gaby is, but Gaby is like the queen of, I'm not gonna buy into your crap. And so when you get that as your example on set, and you see the freedom of that, I mean, I still have the hair and makeup people, and I'm worried about my flabby upper arms, but she inspires me every day to like, let go. You know, let go, let go, let go. And I just feel like it's why people respond. I think it's actually why you feel that way. If we all looked perfect and we were all presented perfectly, you wouldn't feel that.
Well, vanity, I think, is the death of good acting.
Yeah.
So you can be vain in real life. Amy can, after she shoots the scene, say, oh shit, my tits are touching my stomach and that makes me feel bad, and I can have a... But if you bring that to set, you're not going to be able to deliver a performance that you otherwise would be capable of. So maybe we're all just more vain about being good actors than we are about our bodies and whatever.
But it also starts with Jill, because like the first day that we did the table read, you know, Jill said, we are making a piece of art in service of changing the world. I mean, Jill's first mission was to make the world a safer place for her parent. And then as the seasons have progressed, it's become about making the world a safer place for all LGBTQ people. And then we started to include all otherized, marginalized voices. And now we're, in this season, moving it beyond America to Israel, Palestine. And so that, I mean, I'm getting chills when I'm talking about it right now, but like that ethos is something that is present in us at all times, that we are making art in service of a greater good. So it makes you proud to sacrifice and to fall on your face and to show your flabby tummy or whatever that may be, because it's all in service of humanity.
Yeah, and to add to what we're all talking about is that there is a kind of safety on this set that we all experience, and that came from Jill from the very beginning. That was and where we all come from, and the way Jill talked to us is, she said, you can't make a mistake, you can't do anything wrong. And so often in our business, it's like a director will come up to you and say, oh, I don't think so. Can you do that better?
I didn't believe that. That's the worst note you can give to an actor.
Oh, it's just awful. It's just awful.
Oh, well, let me act in a way that you believe.
Right.
What do you do? What do you do when someone says I didn't believe? There's nothing you can do.
You shut down and deliver a worse performance.
Shut down.
Or you just throw it over your shoulder.
I've gotten to the point now where I say that is the worst note. Think of something else.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks to Jill's employment, I get to say that to other directors.
Well, and we all have that experience because we've all done a lot of different stuff before, and so this is a very new way for us to work, and it's always about the connection and the continuum. And we have to always be careful, and we always say this to everybody, this is not a cult. This is a kind of connected, new world way of working, that out of what we do and we take this into our lives, we can then bring it out into the world.
I think that is the definition of a cult.
No, but
It's a good cult. It's a real good cult.
Leave now. I'm gonna leave.
I want to say
Don't touch me.
I want to say something about Judith and Jeffrey, it does start with Jill. Jill is the they always say like trickles down, but there's also something when your two most well-known, most experienced leads have no vanity. And we would come to our, no, you don't, when they're acting, neither of them do. I mean, there is no,
obviously, as you point out, she's one of the most stunning women. She takes off her hair. She puts on a wig. She changes the way she moves.
Her hair doesn't come off.
Well, no, she puts a wig on. She puts a wig on. I mean, she covers her hair, and she walks differently and talks differently and becomes this other person, and isn't like an actress that you might see on a show who's worried about lighting, who's saying, I mean, you have Jeffrey who has to let go of himself utterly.
And his performance, I mean, it's been amazing since the beginning, but every season it gets more and more sensitive and beautiful and incredible. And maybe it's just because I know the character and I feel it even more, but even in this season, there are just small things that he does, and it's like, it just kills me every time watching it.
He has taken this on, the responsibility of all of this in such a major, major way. And he's in hair and makeup longer than we gals are, which is kind of really saying something. And
he's the most vain out of all.
He is.
He's got nails and undergarments.
Well, but
hair.
It makes sense because Maura is experiencing her womanhood for the first time. So she is conscious of the way that she looks and moves through the world. And she doesn't want her chin to be, it's appropriate. It's really appropriate.
That's that story.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one more or two more questions. Right here.
Hi. You were talking about the scene on the cruise ship earlier, and that's probably one of my favorite scenes from the last season. It's like one of my go-to had a bad day, really need to cry moments. It like really gets me. And I was just wondering how you came to the choice of that Alanis Morissette song, because that's not the first thing that I would think of when I would think of what song Shelley would feel empowered by.
That's what I said.
But it worked so well, and I just want to know how you came to that and how you connected to the song.
Yeah, my sister Faith is an amazing musician, musical director, creator. She writes musicals. She's working on a Transparent musical. And she just heard it. She heard that arrangement of Hand in Pocket. She could hear Shelley singing it. That was really early on in the writing of season 3 in the writer's room, where we knew this season is going to end on that cruise ship, and this season is going to end with Judith's one-woman show. In fact, we wanted the whole last episode to be your one-woman show at one point. We were like a half an hour of Judith's show.
Oh my God.
But the fact that
we were on an actual cruise too. Did you know that we were actually on a cruise
we
to
sure were.
Mexico? She sang in the Spinnaker Lounge, and the audience was cruise goer, like people that were on the cruise who loved Judith, and they put out a thing during the day, and they said, if you love Judith, I think they got a $50 Amazon gift card.
They did get a gift card.
And they came and
I bought them gift.
Watched, and my dad was on the cruise with us, and he still talks about, and I just got chills. It's so funny. The show's like, but he talks about how the audience was like crying. He was worried because when you're on a set, you think it's exciting, and then you realize you're going to do it 50 times, and you're going to be bored out of your mind. The audience was never bored. Every take, they were weeping, clapping, laughing. It was truly one of the coolest moments I've seen filmed.
And I said to Faith and to Jill, why this song? I wouldn't have necessarily picked this for Shelley either. But I don't know how many of you remember. You know who remembers this? Roy Price remembers this moment. In season 1, the kids are talking about music, and Shelley says, I don't care for music. And everybody's like, what? What is she? Never mind. Come to find out what you find out. And so that's the kids' relationship to music. And so there's that. Shelley would have probably sung, Always or Dancing in the Dark or one of those things they play at bar mitzvahs. But no, this is the kids' music. And she heard it and she knew it. And I think that was also part of it. And Faith is a brilliant musician. She's extraordinary. And she said, it's not going to be the same, we're not going to do it the same way as Alanis Morissette did it. It's going to have a different, a tenor to it, different movement to it.
Faith also writes on the show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Wait,
it.
can I just say also that Alanis Morissette is a perfect collaborator for our show, and her writing and her voice and her delivery, like I revisited that whole album leading up to this, and I was sobbing and laughing, and it's just like watching Transparent. She's a real, and she wrote that how many years ago? So it's actually weirdly a perfect fit
And she's a fan, and she moderated a panel for the Emmys for us this year, and
she's amazing.
It was unbelievable. We were all like dying.
She has her own personal process that makes her music so powerful and she reveals herself.
We love you, Alanis.
We love you, Alanis.
I think we have time for one more question. Right here. Hi.
So you guys were in a completely different setting for this season, I take. And I just wanted to know, your show really helps to kind of change people's perceptions about what it means to be trans, just in general about the queer community. Another topic, though, that you're really going over in this season is that of Israel and also of Palestine. But for you, as the people you are, not necessarily as your characters, what were some things that surprised you when you were there, whether about the people or, I don't know, landscape, anything?
Yeah, I think we had the kind of original instinct, which was, the Pfeffermans need to go to Israel. The same way that I think a lot of Jewish families might say, when are we going to Israel? And then as we began to get into the storyline, we realized how much we didn't really understand about Israel-Palestine in the same way that people don't really know a lot about transness. So we really wanted to just, I don't know if Amazon releases the show on the Erev Rosh Hashanah on purpose, and knows that all of the Jewish people in the world are gathering on the 22nd, and then they have 10 days off, and then they get together again for Yom Kippur. And in that 10 days, they better have watched so they can keep up with the conversation. Yeah, the day after Rosh Hashanah. The day after, you can watch the day after. But I love the idea. I know from talking to people that over the years they would have Thanksgiving meals or dinners with their family where somebody would accidentally misgender somebody or say something about transness that was inappropriate in terms of the generations. So the younger people would say to the older people, Mom, watch Transparent and let's talk again next week. And a lot of people use the show as a way for their families to actually come to a real understanding and conversation about transness. And we're really hoping the same thing happens with Israel and Palestine. It's another one of those conversations that at a family dinner you actually can't bring up without starting a fight. And we wanted to take that conflict, make it really organic within these people, let them live through the truth of these conversations, and then share it with everybody to watch.
So, Jay, did you want to say something? I saw the mic moving.
Oh, well, when Jill was talking about, whether or not the Jews would be watching our show, I was just going to say that we have a team of people that will be going door to door.
I have to let you go. Thank you so much for coming here. I love the show so much. Well, you're going to have to do that again because I have more things that I have to say. The show, season 4 premieres September 22nd, every episode, right? Yes, streaming that day on the 22nd. Thank you so much. Give them another round of applause. Thank you.